Hey guys, Rich here again. Today in this video, it is part 2 on the Porsche 917. Today in this video, where I left off to was the racing history. So I said to myself, well, I said that I'll do it for part 2. So today is the day. So before I start, make sure you all like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think, hit the notification bell, and hit all so you're alerted when I make brand new uploads. Alright, without any further ado, let's begin. So, racing history. So this is from 1969 to 1971. World sports car. So World sports car. World sports car championship. There we go. So this is 1969. In testing, it soon appeared that the Porsche 917 didn't work well on the racetrack. Porsche factory driver Brian Redman recalled that it was incredibly unstable using all the road at speed. Many thought that the 4.5 liter engine was too much for the frame. The suspension and the stability of the frame were suspected, but modifications didn't improve the problem. It was finally determined that the long tail body was generating significant lift on the straights, as the 917 was 30 kilometers an hour, 19 miles an hour faster than anything previously built for Le Mans. As with former underpowered Porsches, the 917 aerodynamics had been optimized for lower drag in order to do well on the fast straights of Le Mans, Spa, Monza, and elsewhere. The significance of downforce for racing was not yet fully realized, although both Can-Am and F1 cars were using wings by that time. Before its competition debuts on the 11th of May 1969 in the 1,000-kilometer Spa, the weather conditions prevented further improvements in tests. The Joe Seifert/Brian Redman car. So the Joe Seifert/Brian Redman car managed to clock an unofficial lap time of 3 minutes and 41.9 seconds. 3 minutes and 41.9 seconds. Which would have beaten the pole of 3 minutes 41.9 seconds. So 3 minutes 41.9 seconds, which would have beaten the pole of 3 minutes 42 seconds. So 3 minutes 42.5 seconds. So that's 0.6 of a second faster, set by a Lola. But they chose to use the 908 LH Longtail, with which they won the race and set the fastest lap at 3 minutes 37.1 seconds. Gerhard Mitter/Udo Strutz, I can't really pronounce it, but it's spelled SCH or Scuds. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but it's spelled SCHU with the 2 dots and TZ. Actually started the race from 8th, but they're already, how do I say this word? But they're already ailing engine failed after 1 lap. Three weeks later, for the 1,000-kilometer Nürburgring Nordschleife, all works drivers preferred the 908 over the 917, which was, despite some modifications, not suited for the twisty track. So presumably it might be suited for like the long straights, I think. And it was necessary to promote the car in order to sell the surplus ones. Porsche asked BMW for the services of their factory drivers, Hubert Hahn. I can't really pronounce that. It's spelled H-A-H-A-H-N-E, and Dieter Quester. Dieter is spelled D-I-E-T-E-R, and then Quester is spelled Q-U-E-S-T-E-R. It's like saying quest, but adding E-R to the end, so Quester. So Dieter Quester. They practiced, but Munich declined permission to have them race. So Englishman David Piper and Australian Frank Gardner were hired on short terms. They drove the 917 to an eighth place finish behind a Ford and an Alfa, while the factory's armada of 6 908/02 Spiders scored a 1-2-3-4-5 win. After the only serious competition, a sole Ferrari 312P failed. At the 1969 24 Hours of Le Mans, the 917s were quickest in practice. Soon after the start, the poor handling of the 917 and the inexperience of one of the drivers resulted in drama. British gentleman driver John Wolfe, so it's spelled W-O-O-L-F-E. Wolfie, or was it just Wolf? I don't actually know. Crashed his Porsche 917 at Maison Blanche. So it's spelled. So Mason is. I can't even say it. Mason is spelled M-A-I-S-O-N, and Blanche is spelled. So Blanche is spelled B-L-A-N-C-H-E. On lap 1, dying as a result. On the first lap, it's just insane. So John Wolfe crashed his Porsche 917 at Maison Blanche on lap 1, dying as a result. Wolfe was the first privateer to race a 917. The works number 14 917 led early, but succumbed to an oil leak. They suffered an oil leak, while the number 12 dropped out of the lead and the race in the 21st hour with a broken gearbox, despite leading by nearly 50 miles. At the end, Hans Hermann's 908 remained as the only Porsche that could challenge for the win, but Jackie Ikes or Ix, I can't pronounce it. It's spelled so that name after Jackie. So J-A-K. So wait, it's J-A-C-K-Y. There we go. And the next one I can't really pronounce is. Well, I can spell it, but I can't pronounce it. It's spelled I-C-K-X. More powerful, Ford won once again by a mere 390 feet, 120 meters. In June 1969, Enzo Ferrari sold half of his stock to Fiat and used some of that money to build 25 cars powered by a 5-liter V12. I was going to say V10, but V12 is the answer. So a 5-liter V12 in order to compete with the Porsche 917. The Ferrari 512 would be introduced for the 1970 season. At that time, the 917 already had several races under its belt, yet no success. The first win came in the last race of the championship season, the 1,000 kilometer Zeltweg in Spielberg, Austria. Joel Siffert and Kurt Achrens succeeded in the privately entered Porsche 917 of German Freiherr von Wendt. I can't pronounce it. It's spelled W-E-N-D-T. I'm actually going to translate this. How is it actually pronounced? So how do you translate this? This is in German. So
Freiherr von Wendt.
Freiherr von Wendt. Oh, is it? Hold on. Freiherr von
Wendt.
Freiherr von Wendt. See, German Freiherr von Wendt. So Freiherr von Wendt. At that time, the factory had started to focus on development, leaving the time-consuming trips to races, to consumer teams. Not consumer teams, sorry, race. So at that time, the factory had started to focus on development, leaving the time-consuming trips to races to customer teams. Sorry, I screwed that up. So I managed to get that right. Customer teams, not consumer teams, customer teams. Next up is 1970. So it's got a lot more information on that. Sorry, 1970, here we go. Disappointed by the poor results of the 917 in 1969 and facing new competition, Porsche concluded an agreement with John Wyer and his JWA golf team, which became the official Porsche team and also the official development partner. During tests at the Österreichring at Zeltweg, which is a town in Styria in Austria, Works drivers Redman and Achrens, tested the car, and the car still performed like it did before. The Österreichring was the circuit where the car had won its only race at that time. Wyer's chief engineer, John Horstman, noticed that the bodywork had a pattern of dead nets. I don't even know what that is, but apparently it has it on there. Dashed against it, revealing the airflow. The tail was clean. The lack of dead gnats indicated that the air was not flowing over the tail. A mod to the tail was cobbled up on the spots in the pits with aluminum sheets taped together. This new short tail gave the 917 much needed downforce. The plastic engine intake cover had already been removed. Redman and Achrens were doing only one lap at a time before they each did 10 laps and were satisfied with the improved performance. The new version was called 917K. So hold on, the new version was called 917K, which is Cortec or short tail. In addition to the heavier and powerful 917, the lightweight and compact Porsche 908/3 were developed for the slow and thirsty tracks of the Nürburgring Nordschleife and the Sicilian mountain roads used in the Targa Florio, providing wins while The factory-backed 917 remained in the garages as these cars were not suitable for these tracks. The 908/3 was built to the FIA's 3-liter Group 6 prototype regulations, whereas the 917 was now officially a Group 5 sports car following another FIA review of its racing classes, applicable from 1970. Wire was surprised to discover that another team was carefully preparing for the 1970 24 Hours of Le Mans with close support from Porsche. As in 1969, the Porsche Salzburg team was a de facto works team under control of members of the Porsche family. The Martini Racing team also gained support from Porsche AG. Obviously, Porsche made efforts to win the race by supporting more than one team. Also, a new low-drag version of the 917 was developed for Le Mans with support from the external consultant Robert Chaulet. The 917 LH Langheck featured a spectacular new long-tail body, which had very low drag yet more rear downforce than the 1969 Longtail. So 1969 Longtail, a 4.9 liter, well technically 5 liter engine. Hang on, I'll be back.